All right, so welcome back to our data structures class, day six. And today we will look at something so seemingly simple as a function. That's for those who already have taken programming, and assume again all of you have. You already encountered functions in terms of C language and JavaScript and of course Python. So today we will look at the syntax and also semantics for the functions in C++. And so what I'll be doing again, since this is relatively, well, seemingly simple subject, of course the basics are simple, but of course the devil, as they say, is in details, right? Especially as far as C++ goes, right? But we will look at the user-defined functions, of course, and we've been using functions already. Of course, main. Of course, we've been writing main. Of course, we're writing some other helper functions already. So the basics should be pretty simple, but we will look at some of the ways of returning values, of course, what kind of parameters we can, right? Of course, void functions, of course, right? What else we're going to check, right? Some reference parameters, right? Maybe we'll even get to how to pass function pointers, even though we have not formally talked about pointers in general, right? Passing references, right? So let's get started. Of course, the main idea, of course, why we use functions in general, of course, is for what Dijkstra, what of course called in the 60s, well, structured programming, NUS, of course, right? Idea, of course, is to break down our programs into manageable pieces, right? So, how big should your function be?
This big.
Yeah, this big, exactly, I like that. Yeah, basically, the rule of thumb, right, is if your function is over one screen, something you might need to think maybe you want to refactor, meaning rewrite, maybe you want to have take out some code. If it's like 5 pages long, that suddenly smells pretty bad, right? But of course, there are stories of people writing, seeing actually, function which is like thousands of lines, multiple pages long, multiple screens long, right? It's not their fault because somebody started this function maybe 15 years ago, right? Of course. But of course, because they're too scared to refactor, right? There's no time. Again, it just works. Then, of course, you lose the function, lose many of the advantages, right? Of course. So, some programs, of course, called modules, of course, right? This is a very basic way of saying, right? I like, of course, not official, but the way it's said in a CPP reference, right? So, this is more formal way of writing, right? Entities that associate a sequence of statements, a function body with a name, and a list of 0 or more function parameters, right? So functions, of course, have no parameters. They don't have to return anything, right? They could be void return, right? So first of all, there are 3 things. We have a declaration of function, meaning we might say, okay, we might say, okay, there's a function, we might be using it at some point. We declare it. And that actually can appear anywhere. And then, of course, there's also definition of the function, meaning actual what the function does. Right? In C++, you have this distinction. Many languages, you just write a function, that's it. In C++, you can define a function. I mean, you declare a function up somewhere, maybe in a different header, maybe somewhere, right? But you define it later on somewhere else, right? So again, they're not objects in C++, right? So because you don't pass them as objects, right? But you can have a reference to the pointer reference, of course, reference. And what else can you do? Well, of course, C++ would not be C++ without adding extra features from other languages, right? So these days, you can have anonymous functions in C++ as well if you want. Using lambda expressions since C++ 11, right? What's an anonymous function? Of course, is a function with no name, right? Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get to that far. Maybe not today. Not very pleasant to use as far as C++. I like anonymous functions in some other languages, not in C++. But what else? Some other weird things that have been added here, right? Coroutines, of course, right? Suspend execution, right? Again, things added since C++ 20, and so lots of things, right? And in fact, I will not be surprised they add something else, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, But the syntax, of course, by now it's a classical C++ syntax, right? C syntax, actually, C syntax, right? Originally, if you think about, if you go back to the history, there was no need for declaring the data type, right? So, again, the book, the slides are from the book, says it's, kind of like function algebra. Yeah, there's some similarities. We've been using some defined functions, site and standard library, mass, header, right, power, square root, floor, right. We're using functions from IO, right, header, right, CMass header, right. Of course, we use include statement, of course. But user defined functions is something you define yourself, and of course, it would be pretty much impossible to write a good program, non-trivial program without functions. They could be member functions in C++, meaning they could be part of some class declaration and a part of the object you define, right? But in general, you need functions, right? Well, at least you need one. You need main, right? So if I see your homework and your main is like 300 rows long, I'll probably won't give you full credit, probably, right? So yeah. Will not, but 1-2 screens, not the end of the world. Again, be pragmatic. Okay, so you need, of course, header for including other ones, right? So we want to return, of course, functions, return value because we want to, save the values for calculations, right? Well, again, assignment, of course, output statement, parameter, another function call, and so on, right? So what do we need? Right, we need a header, right, what's returned, like absolute number, body, but actually does the work. This is completely formal declaration, right, the syntax, right? So syntax is function type, what data type is returned, function name, and then potentially a list of parameters, right? Let's compare this with the syntax here, right? Yeah, the name is odd, right? I don't actually, it's kind of, I would have liked this capital O here, actually, right? As far as C++ reference, which is a good reference, but I personally like the camel case here. Is odd, of course, seems like, because is odd is not a word, right? It's two words together, right? So camel case, I think, would be better here. I like this, but okay. So return type, function name, formal parameter, just a single one, body, and we are actually returning integer, right? So question is, can we go wrong here? So basically, is this actually a good function? Let's take a look. Absolute, it's an integer. Any possibilities? Well, I'm wondering what's going to happen about something. I think there's a bug here in this function, by the way, with the book bug, right? What I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen? Let's test this out. I think there's a bug, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you see where the possibility of bug is? What's going to happen about one thing, right? It takes an integer, right? Returns an integer absolute value, right? So there's a particularity of integers, right? The negative side has one more. So I'm already thinking of what's going to happen of this function, this book example. If you give it the maximum negative value, how is it going to translate to the maximum positive value? Because there's no such thing, right? There's going to be overflows. There's going to be something weird. Maybe it's going to be 0 or 1. So there's a slight bug. But I don't know. Of course, we can compare. I mean, that might not be a good solution because we just don't have space for this extra negative integer, right? So, but again, that's jumping ahead of conclusions. Maybe there's it's inevitable, right? We can, of course, check if it's max integer and then we do something, I don't know. We can compare it how the factory absolute introduced this. My apps, let's compare it. So I have a GitHub code space, right? Open up already somewhere. Where is it now? I have it open up, and I need to open it. If I didn't open up, where is it? Where are my code spaces? Oh, there we go. No, that's my code spaces, but where's my actual code space? Oh, there we go. Yeah, right. So let's do functions, right? For now, we're staying in again, reminder, the repository is this one here in its new course materials, right? This one here, RBS PBM766 data structures. I'm trying to see how, I wonder if there's a nice nifty way of getting to code space from this repository, right? Because like in Google Colab, you can get nice Google Colab link from any repository, right? But code spaces is not so obvious, right? Because of course it's paid by, well, it's on GitHub, on a GitHub servers, right? And so this obviously this little thing here, right, is you know, this little hash, right? You know, it's just for my particular code space. You need to get your own, basically, right? So you need to be logged in, right? So I wonder if there's a nifty way of taking an existing repository and opening up a new code space. If assuming you're logged in a GitHub, there must be a way. I have not explored. So first of all, let's see what's happening here. I need to reload. Okay, Colab, of course, Copilot always has new versions. Let's restart. Let's do git pull. There shouldn't be any issues, right? And again, I like using this because, of course, I don't have to worry about installing a compiler on this school machine, right? So pretty nice. Okay, my extensions are nice. What else? I have CMake, of course, CMake tools, Copilot. I'm not going to use that. All that. The main thing we need this one, right? 70 million people still using C++ or C. Wow. Okay. So a G++ version. Let's check if nothing changed. Nothing, of course, should change. Nothing should be changing yet. And it's a free software, and it is still around, right? Yeah. Ubuntu 20.04. Okay. Now, so let's do a function. Functions. See if I can. Right. Let's have some fun with functions, right? No. So first, yeah, include IOStream, right? And I'm gonna write this function from absolute. Oh yeah, okay. We'll use namespace std, right? Again, since we're lazy, but of course, okay. Today I'm not going to use std for this particular file. Why? Because I'm going to be using the mass cmass, right? Let's include string mass, yeah, cmass, right? For absolute for apps function. Okay. Now int main, right? For now, just void. No parameters for this function. Let's use some numbers. Let's int x minus 5, right? And yeah, on cout, right? Absolute. So absolute value of x is okay, something like this, right? So we end up using this. But interesting. This should fail, right? Is this going to compile? Isn't this, or is this part of namespace? Not part of standard namespace. Let's take a look, actually, right? Well, let's try compiling this, right? GPP, right? Functions, yeah, with all warnings should be errors. Functions, and output will be fun, right? Of course, fun binary. And okay, so it actually does work. So they're not my. Okay, let's run it. Fun, of course. How big is it? Let's check it out. My fun is very small, right? Again, it's about 17K, I guess, because of course all the overhead. So fun, and yeah, okay. Let's clean up the code a little bit. I guess I should use, if this is absolute, is actually not a part of standard namespace then actually. So let's do CPP reference, right? Apps. Yeah, there we go. But no, it is a standard apps. Oh, interesting. It is okay. So it is part of standard. No, they use standard RBS. That's a wonder. Why did it work without? That's a good question now, right? Or did I skip? Why does apps? That's a good question actually. Why does it work if it's actually part of standard? Because cout would not work, right, without the namespace, right? But absolute works. A good question actually to answer, because you see in examples, right, you use a full, right? Okay, right, you see here, yes, int, exactly what I was talking about, undefined behavior on two complement systems, right? So this is basically means the dragons might fly out. Right, let's try this. So int min. So int min is where defined where. Int min is, yeah, this is a potential issue. I want to see what's going to happen, right? Yeah. So that's the issue what I was talking about. There is an issue. You have these apps. There is an issue with apps with, yeah, for that int min when max, we call it int min in to complement, there is no, yeah, max is one less, yeah, okay, so let's try it, so standard, so book or standard has undefined. Let's see if we can launch a spaceship with this, right? Int y, int min. Okay, so this is not defined. Int min is defined where? Let's see where they define it. Int min is defined, I believe it's in cell limits. Yeah, cell limits. I believe so. I believe it's cell. Okay, but it's still so standard. Is it on int min? Let's see where does it live. Let's see again. Int min reference. Again, of course, this seems like not a big deal, but it's defined. Limits age. Limits age. Sorry, this is of course from the old one. Int min. Right, limits age. Sorry, limits age. Int min. Okay. Also int max. That's it. Okay. So now let's try it. Right. Warning. Next is so should be used, right? I like doing things that you're not supposed to do, right? So let's compile it. I wonder if it's going to complain about this. Probably not. No, it doesn't complain, right? You could have maybe some other, right? So absolute value is negative. So how about over? So let's try over function, right? So the book function, right? All this extra work to get our function, my apps. So now let's write my apps function. Yeah. Okay, that works. Same thing, right? Return number. If x less than 0, return minus x. Otherwise, return number. This is about as simple as a function can get and still do something useful, right? Let's compare it. Let's compare ours. Yeah, my apps. Okay. And what else do you want to do? Right, and of course, let's do ours. Right, okay. Now, let's compile it. All right, so same approach. So in a way, my function is just as bad or just as good as the other one, because of course there's no way around. Okay, so what should we? If you were going to check this function, which is extremely simple, but still, what should be checked still first? Like, we are testing negative values. We checked in int min. What else should we check? Like, I mean,
type.
Yeah, type. Well, of course, type is of course. Yeah, of course. If you in C++, if you give it a wrong type, right, it will just compile. It will catch our errors. No, I'm thinking about testing correct numbers. But like, I tested if it's -5, negative minus, maximum, right? But what I have not tested with positive numbers. I mean, it's such an obvious thing, right? It seems like, yeah. But if you are testing something, you should also check. We have not checked this case, right? This positive case. I mean, maybe explodes. I mean, probably it just works fine. You should also test it. Even though it is obvious here, also obvious here, we should also test my apps with int max, also some positive int, and also what number, and of course 0, right? Always test your function. If you're doing some tests, test with 0. It's where the things could happen, right? So you go. So of course, it does not guarantee correctness. So z would be int max, right? Absolute value z, right? And also now 0 in 0 in 0 or a 0, right? And again, seems obvious, but positive. And I think this is right. Again, so again, if I was doing this by hand, I would not want to do this, but since I have nice Copilot to help me, it knows what I want to do. All this boilerplate, right, is done for me, and I can compile it, and we can see our function working fine. Again, obviously, if you're not doing a spaceship, we don't really have to test it, but it seems, of course, everything works fine, right? Obviously, we are hitting this, right? There is tooling which tests whether you are actually you have test coverage of all the different paths, right? You have if here, right, and return, right? So of course here, this we could add else. We could have added else here and else, but it's not necessary, right? Again, I hope for you guys all this is so obvious. It's like easy. All right. Yes, very good. Super. I love to hear it. Now, again, what we probably want to do this, I'm going to declare it now. So I'm going to declare, I am going to declare my apps function first. Yeah, right? So we can call this also function signature, prototype or signature. Yeah, right? Right, and I'm going to move this actual implementation, right? Is going to be here, right? It's going to be here, right? Okay. And again, of course, we would want eventually at some point we would want to move these in separate file as well. Now, let's see what the book, if anything else interesting happens in the book for now. I don't think anything else is going to happen here today, but let's see, right? Function name, again, return, right? Returns the reward, of course, expression, right? Double max, local variable. Okay, scope. So let's talk about scope. Alright, so formal parameters. So of course, hopefully you can see that this double max has so-called local scope, right? Local ID, right? Left value. And of course the max identifier will be gone when we return it. Again, basics of function, right? We're returning a double, right? We are passing two numbers, right? So max, right, will cease existing when we finish calling this function, right? Let's do one more. So let's do also, let's declare my max function with for doubles. Double my max, double x, right? And since I'm lazy, I'll make a Copilot write it, right? Now let's write my max function. Let's do it. Double my max, right? Okay. Well, since here, yes, of course, this would be the way to do it, right? And fast AI is smarter than the book, right? In this case, right? More efficient. But for now, for educational use, we will use a local variable max. Double max, right? And then I'm going to rewrite this, right? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay. So we assumption. So we start with an assumption that x is a max, and then we have a base case. So this is a actually pretty decent pattern, right? Again, because you have flats, you don't have L again. So the tendency, again, it's my own experience as well, that you don't want too many else. I mean, you could have an else here, right? You could write an else here again, right? Alternative approach would be, alternative approach would have been to return to use if else on set max to y, if else max to y, right? But here, right, I think this approach is quite nice because you have flatter, I think, easier to follow structure. Of course, in this case, in particular case, this max actually didn't have to do anything. Again, so max goes on the scope here, but it is returned, right? So in this case, of course, max as an ID, as an identifier goes to scope here, but it's returned, so it's not destroyed, right? Okay. Now, I don't think that we can, of course, test it, but let's test. Let's do one test on my max. B on, right, of course. It's max. Oh yeah, it's built in. Standard max is built in, of course. My max. All right. And of course, max is fine. And again, of course, since I'm not even going to write tests, of course, again, for full tests, we would want to cover what? To cover cases where, right? I mean, that's what we want to check, of course. At least that, right? So far, so good. Let's see what else can we, what interesting things we can do. So prototype, right? So prototype or declaration, right? We say, right, so that's a C++ and C specific thing, right? Well, some other language also use this, right? So, yeah, so value, right, if x return 2 times x, right? So that's not a very good syntax, right? This is better, right? So yeah, obviously indentation is important, right? I mean, again, to me, it's second nature. One of the most good IDEs will provide you with good formatter, right? Because, yeah, you could remember C++. I don't need the curly braces here, right? I mean, I could squeeze this in one line, right? If you're doing a single statement, yeah, you can put it in one line. But if you're still not completely comfortable, right? I suggest use curly braces, right? Also, I talked about the curly brace writing this. Anyone know what style is this? There is amazing flame wars about what type of style of curly brace style you should be using. Do you know anyone know what I'm using? What style?
Well, I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I know the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, there's no. When I started writing out C++, I used to use this style, by the way, right?
Ew.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago, right? I've grown to love this style more, right? And there are curly brace style. There's about 4 or 5 of them at least, right? And people braces in brace style. This is indent styles, yeah. Indentation style, right? So look at this guy. So Alman, GNU, which I think looks horrible. Yeah.
What's the difference?
No difference,
Alman
again, so this is indentation.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is just compiler doesn't care. It's for humans, right? Whitesmith, I don't know. This is even worse, I think. Right. So this is a classical KNR, right? This is a book I actually learned from, KNR, right? Famous book, right? And they use this again. So it has some advantages, some great advantage. One of them, you gain extra row basically, right? And also it's quite readable, right? So this is of course. So these two are rare, right? Alman is seen quite a bit. KNR is seen. This looks horrible too, right? Right. This is even worse. I don't know what. This also looks really weird, right? There's Pico style. Look at this. Lisp. Right. So yeah. Yeah. By the way, yeah. This is yeah. Of course, Python stuff. Of course, that, I don't know. Yeah. Of course, the funny thing is that this is, if you know what this is happening is, Apple is language, right? There's composite language, right? They use redefine it, basically redefine while, right? It's famous writing. It's written in really tight C. People say horrible C, but it actually works, right? But really evil C, meaning redefining all the things, right? So it redefines while loop with a W, basically, right? Yeah, I don't know why, but the guy, he was genius, but he was also right to write Kenny Iverson, pretty famous guy, but
He was trying to be special.
yeah, exactly, right. So yeah, so I guess the question, which one is the worst of these, right? Lisp one, yeah, and this is also pretty cool. But yeah, so basically, in a, I think you will see mostly this Alma style still around, yeah, right? Again, because it's sort of like, there has basically the big advantage of this, of course, is you can always match the parentheses, right? If it's consistent, right? And of course, in general, of course, you shouldn't really care about this. What you can do is your IDE should be able to format it according to the rule set. You say, okay, I want Alman, okay. I want Weizmann for some reason, I don't know why. But I want KNR, of course, and KNR is the standard now these days, right? So we use this one, right? I like it. Right? If you, for some reason, you want something else, I mean, I'm not gonna kill you if you submit it in different thing. But what I would really hate if you submit in inconsistent. If you have like use 3 different styles in your code. Yeah.
One code, different styles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you just do it, whatever. The question now is, how do you let's do formatting. Let me be something like, there should be a way to format this in code spaces. For example, if you're using code spaces, there should be a formatter here somewhere.
Control-Shift-L, I think.
Excuse me?
Control-Shift-L.
Yes. The question is, it's going to work in this code spaces. Like on Visual Studio Code, it might work because this is the code version, Control-Shift-L.
Well, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. There should be keys.
I think Control-Shift-F.
Control-Shift. Okay, that's Control-Shift. F is search. That's global search, right? That's not makes sense. Okay, question is, how do we find the keys for, before break, let's find out the keys for formatting, right? I want to do something like this. I'll do something like this, right? This, but this is bad because you have this and that and are not so good. Okay, right? Be consistent. But now there should be a formatting, clear search. I don't want search. I want Shift Alt.
F.
Yes. No. Let me see code space. I want to see the code. Where can I see the?
I think if you search on the top, like
here. Oh yeah.
And then search for
the format. No. Indent. Come on. There should be.
Yeah.
You know why? Because we have the extension, right? We have the C++ extension. It should offer this.
It was something.
Yeah, okay, let's find out. Because this is kind of important because, of course, I could also write, there's command line formatters too. In old days, you run a command line formatter, right? But it should do it automatically for you. So, GitHub, code spaces, and formatter, shortcut. Let's see. Keyboard shortcuts.
Control-E.
But this is, I think, general ones, right? Format, you got information format. You say information format. Indentation? Nope. Auto formatter? No. Auto format? No. Formatter?
Formatting. Oh.
Formatting. This is for Markdown. We don't need Markdown. Oh,
There's more.
Oh yeah, let's do more. This is for comments. I don't want comments. I want no. Okay, command palette. Let's do this. Okay, C++. Formatter shortcut. Control-Shift-I. Put the client format file. Oh, okay. Control-Shift-I. Let's try this. But this is like okay. Control Shift I, format document. Let's try this. Control Shift I. Ask Copilot. Okay. Should we ask Copilot?
Yes.
Okay. How do I format C++ source code in GitHub code spaces? I will tell you, I don't know. Clang format tool. Okay. Thank you for my. So I need to actually install it separately. I mean, I can do it. Let's do it. All right. So okay, I can do this. But that, of course, that's what I. Of course, it may not even exist, right? This is okay. Ubuntu, install it, no problem, right? But I thought that this plugin would always also have this. I'm kind of surprised it doesn't, right? I'm sure it does. I mean, I don't know, right? And you can say, of course, what kind of indentation, right? And so this is easy. Automate settings. So I need to do this, really? Do I really have to do it?
No.
It should be already, right? Settings JSON, right? I need to go settings JSON, right?
It doesn't seem right.
Doesn't seem right. I mean, right? But maybe that's sometimes I'm surprised, right? Right. Okay. So C-line format. See if it exists. No. Okay. All right. So we could do it. Yeah, C-line format. Yeah, let's see. C-line format. Yeah, this is like old days. Yeah, sudo. Yeah, so do that. No, I don't need to sudo. Sudo. What do I need to do? I'll get C-line format. Huh? Oh, I'm apt-get, right? I'm calling it sudo. What am I doing here? Apt-get install. Apt-get install C-lang. You see what's happening? I don't have enough copy. All right. So I'm not root. So sudo like this, right? Yeah. Oh, it's not there. So Copilot was not lying, but. How do I install? This is 7 years ago. Yeah, sudo apt install. Used to be. There's format. Yeah, allow. Okay, let's try that. Okay, unable to locate package. So apparently it's gone from 20. Wonder, what happened? Command not found. C-line, this is like 2018. Locate once, right? You have to search. This is how many years ago? Nowadays. Really? So we have to check. Okay. Well, we will update first, right? So update. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, we'll update some sources. Of course, this is all. So basically, we'll continue at 12:05. And I will meanwhile install this formatter. Yeah, on up search, right? Let's do that. See what's available. There's going to be available something, right? All right. There's 9. There's version 9. C-line. So we have to install 9. Apparently. Right. Sudo this install format, yeah, so and this is like 21, right? So there's 9 available. This seems a little bit backwards. Usually just one version, it's a wonder. Apparently because it keeps changing, right? Interesting, right? Something simple. Alright, so this of course is come on, Control V. No, come on, Control V. What's happening here? Oh. Okay, but you have 9, right? This flags means I'm going to say yes to everything, right? I'm going to keep it not without. So let's see what happens. C-line format 9. Yes, okay, 100 megabytes for a formatter, because of course the libraries, right? All right. Again, this is a virtual machine. On the progress, there's some progress. Let's take a look. All right. So we installed. Again, of course, general, if you use Ubuntu, it's pretty easy, right? I was surprised this is a little bit more involved than usual. You just have a package name on everything, right? And, so now, of course, I should have it. So C-line format, right? Oh, wow. I have 29. Okay, I have to cut like this, okay. And now I'm going to format my poor functions, right? Fun. Okay. Let's see what happens, right? On, well, what does it say? So basically what happens is it gets output to stand output, right? Yeah, it looks like it does. So, function is formatted. Alright, let's take a look at this function. So, let's compare it. Did it actually do anything? I think, yeah, my max, right? No, my apps, my abs. No, yeah, it's my abs. Yeah. Okay, so it worked. It worked. It seems to me, doing redirect and, this, there's going to be easier way to do it. But for some reason, because I know for sometimes code space for like some stuff, like for, I forgot what I was writing, for Python, for other things, usually the formatter is pretty easy, right? Of course, as you all know, for Python, the formatter is very crucial, right? Because you might just, indentation is crucial, right? For C++, it's just a cosmetic, right? So yeah, but takeaways, this is one way of doing it. Maybe it helps somebody. If you're using code spaces, right, of course, you have to mess around with settings, set up automatically, formatting, format, yeah, formatting, okay, here's formatting, format and paste, format and save, format and save. Oh, let's do that. Alright, format and save, that's a good option. Format must be available. Let's take a look if this works. Right? Let's try this. Back up at 66, okay, what happens if I, do I need to do this? No, I don't, okay. Anything happen? It doesn't happen because it's called automatically saves, right? I don't see how it would work actually, right? But okay, so we'll add this to delete ignore. Function is formatted. Alright. So we'll continue in 10 minutes.
12:05.
12:05.